What is up guys, and welcome to this video. So in this video I'm going to be covering a commander deck on Lazav the Multifarious. He's a dimmer shapeshifter with power 1 and toughness 3. When Lazav the Multifarious enters the battlefield, surveil 1, and then you can he also has the ability where you can pay X, and then Lazav the Multifarious becomes a copy of target creature in your graveyard with converted mana cost X. Except its name is Lazav the Multifarious. It's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has this ability. So the name of the game is to fill your graveyard with creatures that Lazav the Multifarious will benefit from being, as well as benefit you turning into it, using the abilities the creature have, and in some cases even win the game through whatever you turn into. To start this list off, I just want to cover a wheel synergy. Because you want to be filling your graveyard, I opted for a way to have each player wheel and then it benefit you in some way. Notion Thief allowing you to draw a card. Every other opponent is supposed to draw after their first draw. If you have Dark Deal, each player discards all the cards in their hand, then draws that many cards -1. We have Ghostly Pilferer, which you can pay 2 for it, and when it comes untapped, you can pay 2 and then draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand to draw a card, you can also discard a card to make it unblockable. And Ghostly Pilferer works very well with Whispering Madness, which is also a wheel spell, but you can cipher it onto Ghostly Pilferer or any creature really, and then each time you deal combat damage to a player, you can cast it for free. We also have Narset, Partner of Veils. We're going to use her to stop each opponent to draw a card when you wheel, so just to gain value and stop them from drawing after a wheel. But I kind of want to cover the combo quite early on. So in this deck we're using Demonic Consultation, Laboratory Maniac, and or Mirror Mad Phantasm to mill your entire library and draw a card and win the game through Laboratory Maniac. Demonic Consultation, you name a card, you remove the top 6 cards of a library from the game until you reveal the named card. Each other card other than the one that you named gets put into exile. Laboratory Maniac helps you win the game if you draw a card from an empty library, and Mirror Mad Phantasm is basically just used to pay 2 mana, shuffle it into his or her library. If that player does, he or she reveals cards from the top of the player's library until a card named Mirror Mad Phantasm is revealed. The player puts that card onto the battlefield, and all other cards reveal this way into his or her graveyard. So the reason I added this to the deck is if Mirror Mad Phantasm is in your graveyard, you can turn Lazav into a Mirror Mad Phantasm, pay 2 mana, shuffle Lazav into your library, but you're going to have him go to the command zone just so that, you'll want to be doing that. And then you mill your entire library looking for Mirror Mad Phantasm. You exile everything and then you win through Laboratory Maniac. But this combo is quite difficult to assemble, so I dedicated a lot of cards to assembling the combo. One through Diabolic Tutor, just tutoring for any card. Micromancer, looking for an instant or sorcery with mana value 1. In other words, Demonic Consultation. We have Razakev's Right, which searches for a card and you put it into your hand. We also have Drift of Phantasm, so for 3 mana you can transmute it and then look for Laboratory Maniac. Then we also have Dimmer House card, which is a 4 mana cost creature. You can transmute it for 3 mana and then look for Whispering Madness or Notion Thief. Same with Clutch of the Undercity, you can also transmute it. And then we have Illicit Shipment, which just tutors for a card, but if you cast it for its casualty cost, you can look for 2 cards instead. But to be able to cast any of these spells, we added a few ramp cards through Talisman of Dominance, Sky Diamond, Charcoal Diamond, and Dark Ritual, which is an instant that adds 3 black to your mana pool. This deck is also running Prismatic Lens. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Everflowing Chalice. Soul Ring enabling you to cast a lot of the mana rocks on the turn that Soul Ring is played on or after. And we are also running Spell Satchel and Mind Stone. Spell Satchel being quite interesting. It reads whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put the book counter on Spell Satchel. Then you can remove a book counter to add a colorless, or you can remove 3 book counters and draw a card. Then some of the cards that are added to the list is Counterspells through Supreme Will, Counterspell that just counters target spell, the spell that counters a target instant, Spell Pierce that counters a non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2, and then Censor which counters unless they pay 1, or you can cycle it for 1 blue mana. Then we also have Sinister Sabotage, Dissolve, Negate that counters a target non-creature spell. We have Whirlwind Denial, and then Essence Scatter that counters target creature spell. And because this deck is blue and black, I decided to run a lot of interaction in each respective color through Victim of Night into the Royal. Casmina's Transmutation that turns a enchanted creature into a 1/1. Cast Down that destroys target non-legendary creature, and then Frogify that also turns an enchanted creature into a 1/1 creature. Then we also have ways to look at the opponent's hand through Duress, and Summon that returns a creature to its owner's hand. We have Agonizing Remorse which exiles a non-land card from the opponent's hand. We have Blink of an Eye, and we have Price of Fame. Price of Fame destroys target creature for 4 mana, or it costs 2 to destroy target legendary, and then you get to surveil 2. So because of Lazav's second ability to turn him into a creature that's in the graveyard, I decided to add some cards that you turn Lazav into to start looting from very early on in the game. Or through Painseer, when it becomes untapped, you may reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand, then you lose life equal to that card's converted mana cost. We have Luther Ilkor, which it has Shadow, and when it deals damage to an opponent, draw a card, then discard a card. You have Merfolk Luther that just taps to draw a card and then discard. We also have Obsessive Stitcher, which draws a card and discards a card. And you can also pay 4 mana to sacrifice it to reanimate any creature in your graveyard. This deck also runs Tetsuko that makes a creature with power or toughness 1 or less unblockable. We have Fohar, Verdalian Desecrator that helps you draw a card and discard a card, and then drains each opponent if it's an instant or sorcery. And then for 2 mana you can sacrifice Fohar. You may cast target instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard this turn. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead, activate only as a sorcery. You can use this to get back, but cast Demonic Consultation from your graveyard. We also have Tomebound Leech, which it's a 1/3 power and toughness. It has Death Touch Lifelink, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you may loot. Not a lot of people will be blocking this because they will lose their creature to Death Touch, but hopefully nobody blocks this, and then you can deal combat damage and then loot. Then ways to protect Lazav. In other ways other than counter spells, we have a guard approach, which gives him hexproof. Museum Skin also gives him hexproof. Dive Down also gives him hexproof. And then Teferi's Time Twist blinks him, and then he comes back with a +1/+1 counter on if it's a creature. Then last but not least, we have some cards in the deck that has more than one function. Mission Briefing lets you surveil 2 and then cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If you cast it, that's why it does get exiled. We have Behold the Multiverse, which for 2 mana you can scry 2 and then draw 2 cards, or you can foretell by exiling it and then paying it for its foretell cost. We have Frantic Search, which lets you draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards and untap 3 lands for 3 mana, so you don't lose anything. We have Fact or Fiction. You reveal the 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. And then the last 3 cards of the deck, we have Tihada's Ploy. It's a 3 mana instant that lets you draw 2 cards and discard a card, and then you gain life equal to the number of cards discarded this turn. And it also has Jumpstart, where you discard a card from your hand to cast it out of your graveyard. If you discard 1 and then discard the second card through Tihada's Ploy, you gain 2 life. Let's also have Verity Circle. Whenever a creature an opponent control becomes tapped. If it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. This will turn any enemy mana dork into a draw engine. It's also a May ability, so you can't be milled this way. You can decide to not draw. And then we also have Necrologia, which is a 5 mana instant that you do need to cast at your end step. But as an additional cost to Necrologia, pay X life and then you draw X cards. But that's it for the deck, guys. I have been wanting to create a budget list for Lazav for the longest time, but I think now that I got the inspiration to make a turbo demonic consultation deck with using him, it felt worth it, and I think the deck can hold its own weight and play well in a budget setting, especially with a competitive EDH win condition. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.